Welcome back. Now that Andre de Ruyter has resigned, what impact will this have on the country's electricity crisis? De Ruyter resigned after less than 3 years as the power utility CEO. The Eskom board is to outline the way forward for the utility this afternoon. To speak to us more on this, I'm joined by NJ Ayuk, the executive chairman of the African Energy Chamber. Mr. Ayuk, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Your initial reaction to the news that the Eskom CEO has resigned?
Thank you so much for having me. It's always very difficult when somebody as competent and who has really struggled to get Eskom in place. Utilities are very difficult to manage, and especially with Eskom, given the level of crisis, the pressure on Andre and all that had to be done. I'm not surprised by his decision, but I wish he could have stayed a little bit longer. But then we have to start looking at the record and where you look at right now, massive blackouts with load shedding, and there has to be a path towards the future. And maybe it's time for us to rethink what we're doing and have new leadership that really drives this forward, because we need solutions right now in South Africa and the region.
Now, NJ, you mentioned that, he was a person who was actually competent. A lot of South Africans would disagree. We've never seen the number or amount of days of load shedding in our country since the implementation of load shedding since 2007. So what are you basing your argument on that he and the rest of the executive currently were actually performing well?
When you run Eskom, it's like a thankless job. When you run utilities, you have to always look at the past, and you look at where the underinvestment in infrastructure and utilities has been a problem. He inherited a problem, tried to see how he could fix that, and also look at a global wave where there is a big movement away from coal and gas that is also affecting South Africa, and how to move that, but also how South Africa has governed its state entities. They are a variety of problems. Of course, citizens have the right to look at the problems that they're seeing right now with load shedding every day. That's totally unacceptable, and some of the incompetence that has happened around Eskom has affected that. But I always say, this is a thankless job when you are right at that table dealing with these issues every day with a utility that you inherit that was basically bankrupt, and you try to turn around. It takes a lot to be a great turnaround manager, and I'm not going to be one of those who do not recognize those who have tried to put in a lot given the difficult conditions. But that doesn't mean that we have to stop. We have to aim for less and aim for mediocrity. We should aim for more, and we should demand more, but there needs to be some pragmatic, common sense thinking when it goes into looking at power utilities, and also at those who really dedicate themselves to doing this job.
Obviously, then it looks like we were being deceived as South Africans and Africans, because Eskom does also offer power to other countries in this continent, when we were told that the issues are being sorted, because what happened this year was something that a lot of us were not expecting. But just lastly, Mr. Ayuk, the board will be, the new board that is, they will be briefing South Africa later today, business and everyone who is interested, all the stakeholders this afternoon. What are you hoping to hear about their plans after de Ruyter's resignation?
What I'm hoping to hear today has to be a new thinking. We need to have a paradigm shift on how we look at energy, how we look at Eskom. We need to put South Africa and Africa first. And here's what we do. I'm hoping that they come out today with a strong plan backing drill baby drill, gas baby gas. They need to back out exploration of natural gas around South Africa that would come in through gas to power run by Eskom. They need to back down more deregulations. You need to show up financing. And also, we need to start being very truthful to ourselves and embracing coal, and understanding that a rush transition towards renewables, wind, solar is not going to be our immediate solution, because we're losing our competitive edge in South Africa when it comes to industrialization, jobs, opportunities for women, opportunities for blacks and other minorities across the continent. We need to be very, very careful. If South Africa lose that its manufacturing and industrial edge because of low energy, then you would be importing electricity from Namibia. Because take, for example, Shell cannot drill in South Africa, cannot shoot seismic, Total cannot move forward, but they are having massive discoveries in Namibia and Mozambique. They are doing new gas. South Africa will be begging for energy from Mozambique and Namibia. And that's not the place where we want to be. And I hope they address that and they move on with drill, baby, drill, gas, baby, gas, because we need to use fossil fuels to drive up South Africa. Our carbon emissions, it's very, very low. We cannot be doing exactly what those who have polluted the most in Western countries are doing, but at the same time using South Africa's coal to power Western countries and telling us not to use that coal. South Africa needs to put South Africa first and move forward. We can no longer tolerate 6-7 hours of load shedding daily. It hurts families, and we need to put families first.
Sometimes it's 10 hours, Mr. Ayuk, and what you're describing is quite scary because at some point our infrastructure in Mozambique also had to be turned off because of a lack of maintenance there. So thank you very much for speaking to us and painting that picture. NJ Ayuk, the Executive Chairman of the African Energy Chamber.